Hi, third grade. It's Thursday, April 2nd, and we're going to learn a little bit more about the branches of government today. So we're starting with the legislative branch. And in this branch of government, remember, these are the folks that make the laws. So the way that we're set up in the United States is this branch of government is called Congress. Okay? So you're going to go to your first page in your notebook that you started for the legislative branch. And close to the top, you're going to put Congress. And Congress is made up of two bodies. It's called the Senate and the House of Representatives. And this is how you spell them. So you can write that down. And while I talk, you write that down, okay? So the Congress is split up into two parts, the Senate and the House of Representatives. For today, we're going to dig a little deeper into the Senate part. And then the next time we meet for social studies, we'll talk about the House of Representatives a little bit more. So you're going to want to sort of divide your legislative branch page in half. The top part for the Senate, the bottom part for the House of Representatives. But we can just keep that in mind for space, okay? So if you need more time writing this down, that's fine. Just pause it. Otherwise, I'm going to read to you a little bit about the Senate. Okay? All right. Making the rules. Have you and your friends ever had different ideas about something? Did you take a vote to see which idea would win? Then you would have done things that happen in the U.S. Senate time and time again. The U.S. Senate is in the legislative branch of the United States government, and senators make laws for the nation. So we've done that many times in the classroom. We've voted on things. Okay, so the legislative branch is one of the three parts of the U.S. government. The executive branch and the judicial branch are the other two parts. The executive branch makes sure laws are being followed. The judicial branch explains the U.S. Constitution and makes decisions on laws. And we'll get into those more when we do them. They're each going to have their own page, okay? The legislative branch, the House of Representatives, and the Senate make up the Congress. They work together to create laws. And I like this little graph here. It shows the U.S. Capitol, the legislative branch. Here's Congress. And Congress is made up of two parts, the Senate and the House of Representatives. Okay? All right. How does a bill become a law? Ideas for new laws can come from anyone. From these ideas, members of Congress write bills. Congress members meet and debate bills and then vote. If both the House and the Senate pass a bill, it goes to the President. If the President signs the bill, it becomes a law. So we're going to stop there, and I want you to write down two terms. The first one is bill. Okay, a bill is written idea for a new law. Okay, that's a bill. And that's important to our government. That's how laws are made. They start with a bill. Okay, and then the other term that we just read was debate. Okay. That's how you spell debate. And a debate is a discussion between two sides that have different ways of thinking about things. They discuss the same subject, and they try to come up with a solution, or they try to get the other side to vote for their way of thinking. That's a debate. So how do we nail that down into a definition? I'm going to pause you while I write it, and I'll be right back. Okay, here we are. Debate. To discuss between two sides with different ways of thinking. That's a debate. And the senators debate a lot. So if you need to pause that to write it down, you may. Otherwise, I am going to move on. Okay? to our story. Who can be a senator? Senators must be at least 30 years old. They also must be U.S. citizens for at least 9 years. Senators must live in the state in which they are elected. Once elected, senators serve for 6 years, and they can run for office as often as they like. So they're a senator for 6 years, and then they have to rerun and get reelected, but they can do that if they want. So you're going to put a little section that has facts for senators, and you're going to write a senator must be 30 years old to be a senator. Okay, so write that down. Make a note in your senator section. Serving many people. The Senate has 100 members. Voters in each state elect 2 senators. Each senator works for the people of his or her home state. Some senators serve millions of people. For example, the senators of California serve more than 38 million people. But the senators of Wyoming work for fewer than 577,000 people. So no matter how large your state is, you only get 2 senators, okay? So in your fact section, could you please write that there are 100 U.S. senators and that there are 2 for each state, okay? If you need to pause there to write that, please go ahead and do that. All right, what is a senator's main job? To make laws, to help make laws. Senators have many duties. They work closely with members of the House of Representatives, which we'll get to. Senators and representatives write bills. They also decide how to spend government money. Senators sometimes vote on treaties. They also vote on the president's choices for important members of the government, like the Supreme Court. So let's stop there and let's add the word treaties to our terms. So if you have a little term section where you started bill and debate, I want you to add treaties, and I will pause it and write it down for you so you have the correct spelling. Hold on. Okay, here's your definition for treaty. It's a written agreement between countries signed by their leaders. Okay, so this is a unique power of the Senate. They are the ones who come up with the treaties, and they're very important. They're the way we keep our friends, our countries working well together. Okay, so if you need to pause this to write it down, you may. I am going to move on. So what's it like to be a senator? What's it like a day in the life of a senator? Senators have busy days. They read new bills and letters from citizens. Senators meet with the president and others to talk about ideas for new laws. Sometimes senators visit with citizens to talk about the country. Meetings, and they go to important events and groups to listen and hear what the people want and try to translate that into a bill for new laws. Okay, so a big part of the senator's job is to listen to the people, the citizens. Here's a fun fact for your facts section on senators. The president of the U.S. Senate is the vice president. The U.S. vice president has a second title. He or she is called the president of the Senate. The president of the Senate votes on a bill only when there is a tie. So let's say this has happened a couple of times recently where Vice President Mike Pence had to actually vote in the Senate because there was a tie and he was the tie-breaking vote. Okay, so that's a fun fact. The Vice President is also the President of the Senate. Okay, so that sums it up for our studies on the Senate. Let's double check what you should have, okay? In your notebook, you can have taken extra notes, but I want to make sure that you have a definition for a bill, debate, and treaty. Your fun fact should include that senators have to be 30, and that there are 100 U.S. senators, and that there's 2 for each state. The vice president is the president of the Senate. And at the top of your page, you should have something like Congress equals the Senate and the House of Representatives. It's 2 bodies that make up the Congress. Okay? If you missed any of that, not to worry. You can just watch this video again, and maybe it's a good idea to do that again anyway, just to make sure that you got your definitions in order and you have everything that you need, okay? All right, great. Next time we meet, we will talk about the House of Representatives. See you next time.